Hey everybody, welcome to the H.E.A.T podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, guys? Alan Jouban here.
So, Alan, it is Veterans Day, the day we observe it. So, I just want to make sure I say thank you to all who have served our country. My dad was in the Air Force. My father-in-law was in the Army. So, definitely hits close to home. Luckily, both of them were able to come home from service. But on Veterans Day, yes, definitely want to thank all of the brave men and women who have fought for our country and put their lives on the line because I was too chicken to do it. I thought about going to the Air Force one point to be an astronaut or something, but yes, so you are very brave, braver than I, and I say thank you.
Yeah, well said. Happy Veterans Day to everyone. Same thing with me. Grandpa in World War II, my other grandpa in Vietnam War, my brother in the Gulf War or Iraqi War. I mean, the whole family has been in it. I feel like I'm the guy fighting in the cage, but I never served. I kind of feel bad. So thank you for everyone that has served.
Absolutely. Now, Alan, something else that hits closer to home to you, and if people, please excuse me for the tissue, but the air quality in LA right now is really terrible due to the fires out in Thousand Oaks. Alan, I know you live in the valley; you're a little closer to it. So, how bad is it for you, and how close is that to Reseda?
Where I'm at is in Reseda. It actually finally did get into the San Fernando Valley.
Right.
Not really close enough to me, and a lot of the damage, as you've seen in the news, is closer to people in the hills. We're not really in the hills. We're a couple miles from the hills. So we're not really in any immediate danger,
right.
Me specifically. But I've got a handful of friends that have been evacuated and are staying at other places, and they haven't seen their homes. And so that's a scary thought. And I think a lot of people have been seeing the news. And the thing, people losing their homes, these animals that haven't had a chance to get out, the horses, Malibu has a lot of it. For people that watch our show that's not from the LA area,
right.
If you've never been to Malibu, aside from it being a very beautiful place, it's like the countryside. So
right.
There's a lot of people with ranches and animals and exotic animals. And we keep hearing reports about some of those animals not being able to get out and everything. So I'm really eager for the smoke to clear, the wind to die down, so they can go and see. I know the homes are lost for a lot of people, but if you can go home and see that your animal was still there or something, give you a little second hope as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because I actually went and played tennis today outside, and then after I got home, my nose was running like crazy. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I mean, it was hot too, and it was getting windy, and I was thinking about it after the fact that maybe the air quality wasn't that great. But when you gotta play, you gotta play. So I took it in. But so listen, Alan, I want to ask you about the 25th anniversary show. I want to talk to you about the ridiculous elbow. I know you are an elbow man yourself. So I'll start with you.
Yeah.
What did you scream out loud when you saw what happened to the Korean zombie? Because I know you screamed. Everybody screamed out loud when they saw that.
Karyn, when you hear the statement, jaw dropping, right? It's a statement that people make, and I didn't know that I literally would do that, but I was in a jaw dropping state for a couple of minutes. I think by the time it went to the post fight show with you guys, I was still like this. I was still in awe of what I just saw because of the elbow, because of the last second heroics of it to happen, the way that it happened. Even the way that Korean zombie fell, it was such a brutal knockout. He was face down, not moving. You could just see his stomach. His stomach was kind of coming on and off the mat because of his breathing. It was a little bit concerning, to be honest.
Yes.
But it was such a crazy card. The crazy thing is about that part, as that was going on, Karyn, I was kind of like you. I was going to tweet something right before the end of the fight.
Right.
And I was just beginning to tweet, this has the feel of Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner, the feel of it. Like everybody is watching this at the same time, experiencing the same thing as me. And that was before the elbow. Then the elbow happens, and it just blows my mind. And I don't even think I tweeted for 5 more minutes because I was just I wanted to take it all in. So it was, you think about the UFC doing its 25th anniversary show, and we had a replacement for the main card, but we still want to deliver a bang, and they got the bang. Dana White, I'm assuming, could not be happier with the performance Cowboy put on,
Yep.
the amazing fight of the night, fight of the year candidate in the main event, and then the spectacular knockout at the end. What a way to do the 25th anniversary show.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I thought, we said this on the show after that, it's something that, they'll be talking about for the next 25 years, that amazing Yair Rodriguez elbow. But it's funny because I know it truly was jaw-dropping. I was sitting there with Rashad and Jimmy Smith, and we're at the desk, and we know that, as soon as the main event is finished, we basically come on and we do kind of this 20-second, like, hey, everybody, that was totally cool. Come on back to the show.
Right.
And that happened. And because Zombie was going to win, I had it like Yair getting the third round only, but otherwise I had it basically 4-1, and it looked right when they stopped. There was a few seconds left. They kind of stood there. I didn't know if we were going to get a Ricardo Lamas, Max Holloway moment where they were going to point and throw down. You know what I mean? They just kind of ended up high-fiving a little and this and that. And I didn't know if they were like ready, set, go or whatever. But then when that happened, like truly jaw dropping, like you said. And so we're sitting there, we're like, what? And then literally the camera comes.
You had a loss of words.
Yeah, the camera, and they're like, and 3, 2. And literally I was just like, I don't know what to say. And all three of us were just sitting there like, what did we just witness? What just happened? So yeah, jaw dropping is truly the word for it. And I don't even, I saw something today that the Korean Zombie put out that he was, and maybe it's just something you lose in translation, but that he was, embarrassed by the loss and, apologizing to his friends. It's like, dude, that's a once in a lifetime knockout. You shouldn't be embarrassed on being on the receiving end. I know it sucks that you're going to be on that highlight reel, but you had an incredible fight. Like, nobody's thinking, Zombie's stock went way down after that fight. You know what I mean? It was amazing from both guys.
No. Yeah, and I think it just shows the amount of pride that the Korean Zombie has. He's known as a spectacular fighter. I'm sure in his country as well, people look up to him as like this unstoppable force. And so he carries that pride with him. He obviously obviously serves for his country. Yeah. And so he has that pride as well. So I felt bad too to think that he could be embarrassed from such a spectacular performance. But as a fighter, the last thing you want to do is be on the receiving end of a knockout, a highlight reel knockout, and especially if you get posterized, and people will always remember the fight, but every time they talk about the fight, they will show the finish.
Right.
And every time they talk about Yair Rodriguez, they will show the finish.
Right. So
that finish will be just as big or greater than the fight. So he's got a lot to be proud of, but I know what he means. It's early emotions. He went through the morning of the loss. He's feeling emotional about seeing himself knocked out. After the first couple of shows where they're gonna blast it, before a show, before every time Yair fights again. After he sees that a couple of times, you kind of get used to it. Like every time somebody that I have fought fights, I'm always like, are they gonna show them punching me in the face? Are they gonna show, you know what I mean? Because they never show good stuff. Even Mike Perry, they don't show anything with me and Mike Perry because he didn't really do much against me. But if go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think you were in there. I think you were in a little bit of the Mike Perry footage, but
so maybe they did.
Yeah, I think you were.
So that's what I'm getting at, though. Even though if you watch me and Mike Perry's fight, I probably won 90% of it in my mind, or a good portion of it. They will always show Mike Perry punching me in the face, or vice versa. When someone's fighting. So I think that's what he's thinking about. I think that's what the Korean Zombie's thinking about. Every time they talk about amazing fights, they're going to show that knockout, the fight and the knockout. When they talk about Yair Rodriguez, the 20th anniversary show, fight of the year, and so he's going to learn to deal with it once you see it a couple times.
For sure. And, maybe we'll still get to see the Zombie and Frankie Edgar. I know both of those guys had won before, and so you don't always put the win or loser thing, but we know Frankie had already dismantled Yair before, so, I think a Korean Zombie, Frankie Edgar fight still has a lot of sizzle to it. I feel like that's something people would still want to see.
It's funny, Karyn, you mentioned Frankie Edgar. Before we got on here just now, I saw Frankie Edgar. Somebody had posted one of his tweets, and it was saying something like he was referring to people trolling him, and he wished that they would all be in an airplane and go down and crash or something. Right. So I didn't dig deep enough before we got into this show, but I'm assuming that people might be saying something along the lines of like, I'm glad Frankie got hurt because it became a much more entertaining fight. I'm totally assuming. but that's what I'm getting from this.
Right.
And we probably did get it's hard to top the fight that we saw,
Right.
but for anybody to troll Frankie and say we got a more exciting fight because you got injured, it's just ridiculous. And it's not like Frankie Edgar has not been involved in some of the most spectacular fights and comebacks
Right.
in UFC history. Him and Gray Maynard too. We spoke about it recently on UFC Now together. He was the guy on my list who always has exciting fights, has some of the best comebacks we've ever seen. So, haters, do yourself a favor, leave Frankie alone, find somebody else. He's a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I literally thought nobody didn't like Frankie Edgar. Like, I'm not even being kidding around. Like, I pretty much thought everybody liked him. But even if you think about a different fight with Frankie, yeah, maybe there would have been some takedowns, but it's not like Frankie's some lay and pray guy. You know what I mean? So maybe they're also just thinking, yeah, the fight played out on the feet more, which, quote unquote, is more exciting for a lot of people. But I still would like to see that. The Yair, apparently, I guess, out of that whole thing, only broke his nose. I know he said he had a foot injury, but I actually heard some other things that he had in camp, that he actually had some rib problems in camp, and that the last parts of his camp were actually not as physical as he wanted to. He couldn't do all the things that he could do. And so, when he first started those first couple of rounds, we're so used to seeing Yair Rodriguez throw everything but the kitchen sink. And he definitely seemed to be a little bit more measured and a little bit more controlled. Seemed to me it wasn't until the third round that he really started loosening up. So I don't know if it was one of those things where, since it was high altitude, he's trying to conserve a little energy and feel how his body was going to respond. Because especially, like the Korean Zombie, the whole point is that he'll just keep coming and he's hard to get rid of. So, with that in mind, if you look at the earlier rounds for Yair, that maybe kind of explains a little bit. But I thought it was a terrific fight. Like I said, I do think the Zombie was going to win, but props to Yair, man. That dude is good, and he's got a lot going for him. I'm happy that the UFC kept El Pantera.
Yeah, incredible fight. And real little point to conclude on. Think about this, Karyn, Bryant, and our viewers. If Yair Rodriguez did not take initiative in that fight to kind of hypen up the crowd, to summon the Korean Zombie and say, let's finish this with a bang, this would be a total different conversation. We were talking about fight of the year, or a fantastic fight, but beautiful performance by the Korean Zombie. But Yair Rodriguez stood there, and he had his Max Holloway moment. Yeah. And he did it for a long time, if you remember. He kept his hands up for a while.
He did.
The Korean Zombie kind of nodded, acknowledged.
Yeah.
And then he kind of looked around and was like, okay, let's presume.
Right.
And then that forced the Korean Zombie into the dangerous path of Yair Rodriguez. So I don't know if I want to say that it was methodically thought out, but he took a moment to change the momentum. I always speak about momentum, but I'm big on it. He took a moment to change your momentum, change the energy of the fight, and he's going to go down in history because of it. It was a beautiful performance, and we're going to talk about it, like you said, in another 25 years.
And the last thing I will ask you is, since you are such a big fan of the elbow, I feel like if you were watching this at home, I feel like you probably cleared a little furniture, and then you were trying to figure out how to land that perfect up elbow,
You know what I love more than anything is when something happens in a fight and you have that feeling in your stomach I wonder if everybody's going to be doing this Monday at the gym. You know what I mean? And that's not the type of elbow that I throw, really. But it's a great elbow. It's beautiful. He's got very good shoulder dexterity and flexibility to be able to do that. That's one that Tony Ferguson throws. Me and Tony Ferguson have done seminars together. And he has shown that exact elbow. And I really kind of thought, to be honest, okay, it's a little flashy, but maybe it lands one day. Who knows? And sure enough, Yair Rodriguez finishes a spectacular knockout with the same elbow. But yeah, the next day at the gym, today at the gym, people are talking about it. I'm sure in a lot of gyms trying it out as well.
Absolutely. Well, one thing on the fight, the card made me a little bit sad about the 25th anniversary fight night was the fact that Donald Cerrone said he was going to go back to 155 pounds, which means we will never probably see the Alan Jouban Donald Cerrone fight, and that feels like a real missed opportunity to me. I wish you had the chance. That said, both of you guys have beaten Mike Perry. He broke his arm. I just thought Donald looked so focused that night. I just the look on his face standing there, and maybe it's because he really wanted to stick it to Mike Winklejohn or something. I don't know. He looked like he had that whole "not today" MFers look on his face again, and I just thought Donald looked like really good on Saturday.
I did too. Yeah, so as far as me and Donald ever facing one another, I was happy to hear it, to be honest, because Donald, the thing that sucks is Donald to me is like the perfect fight for me. He's a big name. He usually gets you high on the card. It's a main event, co-main event slot. And stylistically, he's a good matchup with me. You know, I feel comfortable wherever we go with him. He likes to stand and bang. Doesn't always do great against southpaw. So stylistically, could be a good fight. Whichever way it goes, it would be a great fight. The thing that's hard is I've only met Cowboy a couple of times. You know, every time we've met, he's been super cool to me. Yeah. I really like Cowboy. I really like him. And I wouldn't want to fight him because, you know, just the Cowboy lifestyle, that's I grew up, you know, the whole Brahma, the whole thing, because I grew up on my grandfather's farm being a little cowboy. You know, the horses, he's got a bulldog, he's a dad, he's got a little boy. Yeah. He's got an old truck, shoots guns.
You guys are the same guy.
I feel like we would be best friends. And so, like, I like him so much. And he's a good, you know, and I'm not saying he's got a cool lifestyle, but he's a disingenuous guy. Right. He's a good guy, and he's very genuine. You know, love him or hate him, he says how it is, and I appreciate that in people. So I was actually glad to hear it because it was a fight that I was like, man, we might fight one day, and it's a good fight, but I don't want to fight a guy that I really like. And so I like him, and I wanted to see good things happen for him in this fight. Not because he was fighting Mike Perry, but because of the storyline of what's going on and his son. I was really intrigued to see how he fought with his son at his first fight. Right. Cute little guy, man, with cowboy boots on and all that. Yep. And it did a lot of what I thought, because I remember when Cowboy announced that when his baby was born, I remember thinking, I got a feeling that he's going to act like I am with my son. He's going to it's going to be a really emotional, powerful thing, which it is for most people. But not everybody says, like, I'm fighting from, you know, everybody's different. Right. Cowboy did exactly how I felt. I said it in my last fight when I fought in Orlando. I felt like there is no way this guy is going to beat me. And Cowboy said the exact same thing in his post-fight speech. He said, not today, MFer. Not today. Not with my son here. You're not taking bread off of my table. And I related to him so much. I feel like I know that feeling. It's like you feel invincible. And if Cowboy now is going back to his rightful weight class and he has something even greater than he was fighting for, which is his son, he's going to be a hard guy to deal with moving on.
Yeah, it was. I was happy I was in Florida when you won, and Cage got to hug you right after and everything. And and I could tell how emotional that was for you. It was so great. And it's funny. I think it even almost kind of caught him by surprise. You know what I mean? And when I think it sneaked up on him and caught him by surprise. I don't think everybody knows Donald's kind of an emotional guy anyway, with his grandma and stuff like that. But I loved seeing it. And my goodness, his little son, those little boots, that little outfit. Oh my God. He was so cute. I couldn't even stand it. But, that said, in terms of the fight, I do think Mike Perry is getting better. You know what I mean? I do think he's improving. I do think it was really smart for him to stop just having his girlfriend be his coach and actually go to a real gym. And, he's throwing some kicks in there. He's not, you're not just having to worry about that right hand or the power shot. So I'm glad to see Mike Perry evolving. But I'm happy for Donald to get the win because he definitely needed it. You know, it's funny because he is one of those guys who, because he's so good, because we love him so much, you kind of don't care when he loses, and it really doesn't take any shine off of the belt buckle. Yeah. But he's been losing, and so he really needed that. And I think that him going back to 55, it's a Shark Tank. I don't know, and he's only ever going to fight good guys, so that part to me is a little tough when he says he wants to make another run for the title. When I say, like, have you met Khabib? have you seen Khabib? You know what I mean? It's like, have you seen Tony Ferguson? Like, there's a lot of like killers at the top. So I don't know how reasonable another run is, really, if I'm being 100% honest. But Who am I to say what Cowboy should do? Just like keep doing whatever you're doing, because I love watching it, and I'll watch it forever. I'll watch it till the cows come home. How's that for a little country reference?
That's a good reference. And I agree. You know, lightweight division is murder's row right now in the UFC. Yep. But the thing is, so is the welterweight division. Right. And he's had a taste of those top guys. He's had a taste of the Rafael dos Anjos, of the Darren Till, of what's his name? Edwards.
Rocky Edwards, Leon Edwards,
He fought. Yeah, Leon Edwards, thank you. And he knows that not only are these guys beasts, but they're just bigger than me. And I think he thinks, you know what? Maybe Tony Ferguson is tough, but at least he'll be the equal in size or a better opportunity to land stuff there. These other guys at the top of the echelon in the welterweight division are just too big for him and good. So either way, whatever happens with it, I like that he's reinvigorated to go for the belt now. You know, it's one thing when you're just fighting to fight, and we've accepted Cowboy for that. But for him to say, you know, I've got a twinkle in my eye now, and I want to go for gold, and this little kid right here, my son, is my burning desire now. I think good. You need things to kind of reinvigorate you, and he's found that with his son. Yeah,
I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so I'm trying to think on the rest of the card, like what stood out to you. I was happy to see Beneil Dariush get a win. You know, he had a 2-fight skid. He lost a fight, and then he lost to that newcomer Hernandez, who is really good. You know, he came in on short notice and he knocked Beneil out, but then he went on to beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier. So it's sort of like, okay, this kid's real. You know, I think Alexander Hernandez is a real prospect, but still, it sucked for Benny, and you know, he gets put in there with another newcomer, and you get the feeling it's like a do or die. Like, are you about to become a gatekeeper fighter? Do you know what I mean? Or are you still in the mix here? And I feel like, because you don't want to be the guy that they always just throw the new ones to, right? To see if they're good or not. Like, you're a good enough challenge for them, but maybe they beat you. So I'm sure he didn't want to become that. Right. So I was happy to see him get such a dominant win. You know, I know that he really needed it. He said, you know, because he has a King's MMA in Anaheim. And he was saying, I guess, in the last couple camps or fights, he was still doing a lot at the gym, teaching classes, and then he realized, his record shows that he hasn't been as focused on himself. So I guess apparently he kind of didn't do as much of the classes, and he was up at high altitude for weeks. He was away from his family, so I think that refocusing definitely worked for him.
Yeah, I was glad to see him get the victory. Two fights, or two fighters rather, that stood out in my mind. You're gonna have to help me with this, Karyn. I'm sorry, I don't have any notes in front of me, and I didn't see that much. But the Brazilian grappler who he was the highest.
Davi Ramos.
Yes, Davi. He
ridiculous.
This guy's a beast. He is really good, and he's aggressive in his style, like coming forward, getting you in a bad position. He's very strong looking. He's the same guy that fought our friend from Germany in the last fight, correct?
Yeah, he fought Nick Hines.
And look.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick Hines. Nick Hines is a very well-rounded fighter. He's a very good grappler. He's a good striker, but he's a good grappler on the ground as well. And Davi had his way with him, and that's what made me take notice. When I saw Davi do that to Hines, I said, man, this guy, if he's able to do this to somebody that skilled, what can he do to the rest of the division? And he showed it. I mean, he was so highly favored in this fight, it was ridiculous. And he made quick work of his opponent real fast. So he looked impressive to me. And also the girl fight that was on the card, the
Maycee.
I don't remember the names either.
Maycee Barbour. Well, there was a few, because on the main card we had Germaine De Randa and Raquel Pennington. On the prelims, Maycee Barbour. Maycee Barbour fought Hannah Cyphers, and we also had Amanda Bobby Cooper and Ashley Yoder. So there were 3 women's fights on the card.
The Maycee Barbour one, the blonde girl, I believe it was. With a young girl. Young girl.
She's got brown hair. She said she's going to be the youngest champion in the UFC. Yeah, she's only 20 years old right now. And she says she has plans to become the youngest champion in the UFC. And she called out Mackenzie Dern after the fight. Is that the one you're thinking of?
Okay. Yeah, it is. Right. It was 2 girls that I wasn't familiar with at all.
Right, they're both newcomers.
Not them. Exactly. The Randamie looked great. The Bobby Cooper fight I saw. Yeah. But these girls came, and I'm thinking, never seen them, never heard of them. I just wasn't aware of them. Let me take note. And then a buddy that was over here told me about her. He said, no, this girl is really good. And so I was watching her, and I thought she missed. There was some opportunities to counter leg kicks early in the fight that I thought she should have capitalized on.
Right.
And so she didn't do that, but she made adjustments and then fought very strong the rest of the fight. And she's somebody that, being a young girl, you said she's 20 years old?
Yep.
20 years old, and to look that good on this level in the UFC, I'm going to keep an eye out for her. She looked really good. She impressed me Saturday night.
Yeah, she's very good, and apparently has been doing martial arts her whole life. You know, the family is in it, and so she's been training since, you know, the age of 3 or something. I also think she looked fantastic in terms of potential and, excuse me, and the option to have a great future. I mean, I like the idea of her fighting Mackenzie because I just get excited. You know, I get excited when somebody has the nerve to call somebody out who's, you know, got more, you know, whatever notoriety on them right now. But I also think it would be an entertaining fight. So that I would like to see. You know, it is kind of interesting to be that, you know, that determined at such a young age. Like I do, it's amazing. But the thing about it is, you know, kids these days, Alan, they train from the beginning. They train UFC. They don't, you know what I mean? It's not like a wrestler came over or a stand-up, but they train UFC. Which, by the way, I talked to Ricardo Lamas about the other day, and I'm going to air that interview too. That's coming up. But yeah, so she's well-rounded already at such a young age.
Yeah, she looks really good. Like you said, 20 years old. Not only having the fight skills, but she got on the mic, and like you said, she had the charisma, the courage to call out a name in the UFC, a high-level grappler like Mackenzie Dern. Good move. If I'm Dana White, I'm thinking, wow, this girl has skill, and she's able to speak on the mic. She's able to, we can build this fight now. We have a girl who made a great debut. We have Mackenzie Dern. We can put, this is how you get momentum. This is how you get fights that are intriguing and exciting, because it has to be some type of backstory. Something that the fans can relate to, or something that makes it intriguing to see. And now we have that. So she's doing great with her so far in her UFC career. Yeah,
for sure. Now, I am curious if you, you know, I don't know. Some people are kind of funny about Germaine De Randa. They think that she was a dirty fighter in the Holly Holm fight. You know, I don't really know how you stand on that. I don't think she's a dirty fighter. But I'm glad that she is back. She had a very long layoff, had a hand injury. You know, after she won the title, she didn't really want to fight Chris Cyborg. And I mean, who really does? So that's a little weird, you know, if you're the champion to say no to something. So that is problematic.
Yeah.
But I'm glad she's back. I like her. You know, she, I guess, thought she would be able to inflict more damage, but Raquel was smart enough to keep her against the cage. I mean, you know, Germaine's legs are a mile long, and you need to, try to like rein that woman in, or I think she can strike you from a lot of places. So, and a tough weight cut for Rocky. You know, she missed weight. She has hypothyroidism, which is actually the same thing that I have. So I can tell you, you know, granted, I don't do what she does in terms of, you know, having to, you know, go down so hard and deplete yourself, and, you know, you have your walk around weight. But I can absolutely tell you that hypothyroidism absolutely sucks. And I swear to God, like, I will look at a sandwich and I'll be like, I just gained a pound. Like, it's weird. Your metabolism is different. I have medicine for it, but I can gain weight incredibly fast, and it takes me a very long time to get rid of it. So my heart actually goes out to her, because hers, I'm sure, is in a worse situation than mine. But anybody that hasn't knows it sucks.
So I'm unfamiliar with it, and I don't need you to get into great detail, but that's something what it is. It's a thyroid problem, and it's harder to cut the weight. And so for her,
it is.
I'm assuming with the weight cut, she's been missing weight before, I'm assuming, and having this is not helping any. Yeah,
so there's hypo and hyper. Hyperthyroidism is like the one you want. You get real skinny, but those are the people whose eyes bug out a little bit. So it's not really a great look. But hypo means it underperforms, and your thyroid is responsible for your metabolism, for a lot of mood things, for a lot of systems in your body. And if it doesn't operate at the level at which it should, everything just is slower, and it's just like you could do the same thing. And it's funny because I didn't get diagnosed to it till later in my life, and now looking back on my youth, like all of my misery from carrying weight around, like if I'd only known, like honestly, it's like it would have been life-changing. Literally. But anyway, it's still her job to make weight. It still sucks she didn't. I know she really tried, and she was really upset about that. So I give Rocky, and that's tough coming up after a title fight. She still had some lingering injuries. I think she was saying she wasn't, 100% sure the leg would be okay. Wasn't 100% sure about everything. So I think maybe she just needs to hit the reset button, take a little break, and I think Rocky will be back. But hopefully, Germaine De Randa stays in the mix and fights a little bit more actively now, because I do enjoy watching her fight.
Yeah. That's good to know. I'm glad you shared that, Karyn. I didn't know that about Rocky or you, but I didn't know that about Rocky. And so it's good to know. Yeah, because, fighters get a tough time for missing weight, and I'm one of them that I look down upon people that are missing weight because it's in a contract. But when you know that they have something that they're dealing with, it relieves the tension a little bit.
Right.
And thinking that, there is a reason that they miss weight. So it was good to know that. I didn't have any idea. When you think about Rocky, though, I feel like she's starting to become that journeyman of a fighter, though. You look at her record, and I think this puts her like at 9-8 or something like that.
Yeah,
9-9.
It's pretty close, yeah.
It's not a great record. The thing, she was somebody fighting for the title. She's had some tough fights. She's made a bit of a name for herself in the sport, but I don't think she's done so enough to be taken care of. I'd like her to, I don't know, I need to see something out of her. I really want to see something out of her where she could relocate or and I'm not saying she has bad training. I don't know a lot of the details, but when I see a fighter who, yes, is missing weight, yes, is losing her fight, and she's got about a 500 record, and she was somebody that was fighting for the title not long ago, I want her to do better. I want to see better things come from her. I don't want to see her get cut. We know her story and everything as far as fighting for the belt against Amanda and all that stuff. So anyway, I'd like to see her continue with success in the UFC, but she's not having it at the moment.
The last thing I think is the last thing about the 25th anniversary, Alan Jouban, that Chaz Skelly stoppage. Oh my God. Where do you stand on that Chaz Skelly? Yes. You know what I mean? He's like, dude, I'm not out. And then they did the instant replay, and of course they're not going to change their mind. And, on the microphone after the fight, Chaz actually was very classy about it, I thought, and took the loss well. I understand that he, doesn't want to crap all over, Moffett or, for ruin his win. But that has to suck. Like, I know you've been in a situation where maybe they've called it off. You're like, I'm fine. You jumped it too soon. So how frustrating is that? Like, how do you process that when like, I'm not out, dude. I'm fighting, because and we're all sitting there watching, looked like he was doing everything right to avoid getting choked. I mean, it was deep, but it looked like he was doing everything right.
So for him, it's got to suck, because he knows what most people didn't know. He's thinking, I'm fighting this. And I got to be honest, Karyn, you know me. I'm a guy that is like, let us go out on our shield. I would rather get knocked out than a ref stop it while I'm on wobbly streets. So I'm all about giving a fighter a chance. But I thought that the referee made a good decision. I initially thought he was out, because the referee did not ask him. But when he looked at his eyes, on one camera angle, you can see an eye was kind of open. Okay. But from the majority of the camera angles, and especially the referee's angle, his eyes looked to be closed. So his eyes looked to be closed, and when he did the arm test, his arm did not respond. So he did 2 tests, and so from there he stopped it. Immediately after, we found out he was not indeed out. But what I'm getting at is, it could have gone either way. Yeah. I'm not mad at the stoppage. Obviously, if I'm the fighter, I'm tremendously upset. Right. He didn't do anything wrong, but you do have to kind of make it known that you're okay. If the referee is in a position that he can't tell what's happening and he's doing tests, if your eyes are 90% closed, he thinks your eyes are closed. If your arm does not respond, he thinks you're not responding. He is then he's reacting to you to stop the fight. So I get it from both sides. I would be pissed off if I was a fighter, but I completely think it's a okay stoppage from the referee, because I thought he was out myself until they stopped it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a dog in the fight on that one. I haven't ever been in that position, so I don't know how bad it is, or I don't know how, able I would have been to give a thumbs up even in the first place, or whatever, So that's always a challenge too for the fighter who is fighting something off to also have to have the awareness and the consciousness of being like, no, I'm good. I'm about to get choked the F out here, but we're good. I understand there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm just sort of more. I feel more upset for a fighter when when an error is made, you know what I mean, and it's that kind of thing. But I also know, look, refs
100%.
want you guys to be able to live to fight another day. It totally does suck, but I thought the Hannah, the Barber Cyphers fight went a few too many punches too long. You know what I mean? So if anything, I would rather have the armbar situation, the early stoppage, other than the other one where I think that she was clearly not going to be. That situation was not going to really be improving. Some people are like, KB, it's just blood. I'm like, no, I know it's not that I'm afraid to watch a woman get bloody. I just really didn't think it was going to improve, and she was getting wailed on, and I thought she took a few extra punches.
Yeah. I see where you're going with that. I agree. I think it's if you're unconscious, you could sustain a lot more damage getting punched than an immediate stoppage of the choke. It sounds funny, but it takes a couple seconds for a choke to, the carotid artery for the blood to stop. And as soon as they don't respond, sometimes you're kind of in la-la land. You can give it like 2 or 3 seconds if they're not responding, and then stop the fight. But look, I'm pulling hairs here. It was a good stoppage. I think the referee responded accordingly. He did the test. There was no response. And just to add to it, before that, what was the fighter's name who was getting choked again?
Chaz Skelly.
Chaz, thank you. Chaz, before that, he was grimacing. He was grimacing in pain. And he kind of, he was grimacing, and he looked like he kind of like tried to like air tap one time. And so it was looking like it was kind of inevitable. And then when the eyes closed and the hand didn't respond, that's why I lean towards the side of it being a good stoppage than not a good stoppage. But at the end of the day, he's a fighter. He was going to continue fighting. You got to give him that opportunity.
For sure. One thing I also loved that night was all the old school graphics that they busted out with like Ultraman and everything. I thought it was really fun to see that. And with that, I have to ask, I think my favorite fight of all time was Shogun Hendo 1. I think that was just like the most insane, most incredible back and forth, most heart-wrenching, most gutsy, most whatever performance from two fighters that I'd ever seen. But I don't remember if I know what your favorite fight is.
My favorite fight of all time. I mean, we're gonna have to probably be, like something around Robbie Lawler, Roy McDonald 2. Nice. I mean, that was just such an epic battle because it had everything. And I'm gonna have to have 2 of them. My modern day fight would probably be Rory and Robbie. It had the dramatic, it had the back and forth, it had the blood, it had the injuries, it had a little bit of everything. And then if we're going old school, it's probably going to be the Matt Hughes fight, Frank Trigg, Matt Hughes. We've seen that run across the octagon slam 1,000 times, but I remember specifically watching this and being inspired and being like, nobody will ever beat Matt Hughes. That's the feeling that I was like, this is like Superman. I saw that and I was inspired. And then a short time later, I ended up doing a workout video with Matt Hughes. I flew to his house and his farm, and I stayed at his place, and we shot this workout video. And I remember just like picking his brain. I was still like a young fighter, fighting Muay Thai at the time. So that was kind of a dream come true for me 10 years ago. But yeah, the Matt Hughes fight was a classic back in the day for sure.
Very cool, very cool. Well, this coming weekend, the UFC is actually breaking ground in Argentina for the first time. That's going to be the first time they're going down there. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Neil Magny, and then also Ricardo Lamas versus Darren Elkins. So I had mentioned it before when we were talking about training UFC. I did an interview with Ricardo yesterday, so we will be getting that up as well. He's a real cool guy, and he has a UFC gym out in Naperville. So we were joking, like, what happens when somebody comes in and they're like, I want to train UFC? You know what I mean? And so, because it happens. So yeah, he's a good dude coming up. But I'm curious, that is your division, if you're taking Santiago Ponzinibbio or Neil Magny in that fight.
It's tough to tell because both guys, I think, are like very tough 5 through 15ers, and I don't mean that with disrespect. I mean, they're in the top 15, and I'm not. So they're very tough guys, but I don't think either guy breaks through to the top 5. I think Pozinibbio is a tremendous, aggressive power striker, very dangerous guy to be inside the octagon with. But he has some holes, some openings. And I think Neil Magny, we kind of know what Neil Magny is. Good guy, good all around, not tremendously great in any one aspect of it, but if you have a glaring hole, a lot of times Neil Magny's style will find that hole. Yeah. And so Neil Magny, he's got the height, he's got the cardio. He may be able to find that hole in Pozinibbio's game, but Pozinibbio is so dangerous out the gate with that power. Yeah. And a seasoned fighter as well, I might add. So I could see him taking out Magny, but I could also see it the other way, Magny taking him into deep waters and finding that hole later on. It's kind of a toss-up for me in winning this fight.
Yeah, I see it the same way, with Neil being just good at everything. So it is hard to kind of get rid of him sometimes. So I feel like if it's a win for Magny, it's a decision. And if it's a win for Pozinibbio, it's a knockout, And I think it might be smart for Neil Magny to take Santiago down, right? Because we haven't really seen Pozinibbio on the ground that much, have we?
Right. You're absolutely right. I think that would be an opening that he might be able to exploit. Yeah. I'm sure they're going to say he's a black belt. I just feel like everybody's a black belt.
I know, right? He's good. I'm sure he's good, but...
Right, but I don't think it is as explosive and as much of a strength as is his explosive striking. So one thing, Neil Magny, although he's not really a wrestler at heart or built like a wrestler, right. He's the kind of guy that can put you against the fence, put you against the cage, grind you out, trip you, get you down, and he stays on you. He stays on top of you. So I agree. That'd be a really good game plan for Neil Magny in this fight.
And I should say thank you, Neil Magny. He did 7 years of service, 7 years in the Army, I believe it was. So on Veterans Day, thank you, Neil Magny. All right, so I feel like there was one thing I wanted to bring up. You actually mentioned the word superhero a little while ago, and I was like, oh yeah, ding, ding, ding. Today was the passing of the legendary Stan Lee, and I just want folks to know that if you go to, I'm sure Wade put it on MMAHeat.com, but it is it's on our MMA Heat YouTube channel. But Wade filmed a few years back when Stan Lee was giving, I believe it was a Lifetime Achievement Award to Lou Ferrigno, of course, the original Hulk from the television series. And so it's really something special. And I shared it on my Instagram. Wade shared some of it on his Instagram too. But it's something really cool to look at. And I know Wade was like geeking out when he was filming that because, the Hulk was a show. I mean, I loved watching the Hulk and everything. I mean, and who doesn't love Stan Lee? I mean, there's a lot of his characters we can't, that are just obviously too incredible to list. But he's been such an imprint on our lives. But if people want to see that, they should check it out on the MMA Heat YouTube channel.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yep. Well, cool. So that's it. We don't have UFC tonight. This week, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but yeah. So, at any rate, Alan, the holidays are coming. I'm not ready for Christmas stuff yet, but anyway, I just can't. Like, can we get to Thanksgiving first? My favorite holiday. Can we do all that stuff? But see, speaking of the hypothyroidism, that's the problem with Thanksgiving. Is I make all this stuff for people, and I'm like, okay, I got one day where I'm not going to stress about it. But anyway.
You keep playing tennis every day up until Thanksgiving, Karyn, and you can go to town on Thanksgiving Day.
All right.
Give yourself that one day.
All right, I think so. Thank you for giving me permission. All right, so listen, on social media, I am KB Heat on Instagram, Karyn Bryant across the board everywhere else. We also have MMA Heat on all those platforms, MMAHeat.com, all that good stuff. Alan, where do they find you?
All that good stuff. Alan Jouban, across the board. I keep it easy, guys. Alan Jouban YouTube channel as well. Check it out.
Awesome. All right, well, folks, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.